If you want to study for only 2 hours a day or even less and still achieve straight A's, the best way to do this is by following the productivity equation. And this equation involves 4 key variables that, if leveraged properly, will 2x, 5x, or even 10x your productivity. Most students tend to ignore 1, 2, or even all of these variables, which results in stress and disappointment from studying endlessly without seeing results. And this isn't just my opinion. This productivity equation is based on decades of research by top academic professors like Cal Newport, who's the author of Deep Work, and this is now being used by CEOs, professionals, and top learners all around. By following this productivity equation, I was able to study only for just 2 hours a day, even without attending class in grade 12, and rank in the top 0.05% of my entire country, and maintain a perfect GPA by the time I was going through medical school. So let's go through each of the 4 factors in this productivity equation and the exact process to maximize each one. And by the way, this video is not going to be about basic advice like just doing active recall or deep work. Instead, I'll be building upon this, and by the end of this video, you'll know the advanced frameworks that I've used as a senior learning coach and COO for mastering productivity. Let's start with the core variable in our equation, work. Most people misunderstand what work actually is and end up chasing the completely wrong metric when assessing how much they have actually studied. Work is not just the time spent. 2 people can spend the exact same amount of time studying but achieve completely different results. And it's also not the effort that's just put in, because there is no participation trophy, and just trying hard doesn't guarantee results. Instead, the best definition of work is that work equals outputs. This means that what you have accomplished during your study session, both in terms of quality and quantity. For instance, after a study session, you might say, I've reviewed 20 concepts deeply, like photosynthesis, mitochondria, cell wall, etc., and how all that fits together. Now, although time is not considered work, it is important. Being able to review 20 concepts in 2 hours is very different to reviewing only 20 concepts in 10 hours. And from our equation, productivity is essentially how much work you can get done in a certain amount of time. Of the thousands of students that I've coached, they all agree that if we do a lot of work in as little time as possible, that means that we are productive. And this is both from a common sense point of view and also according to the equation. They also agree that the secret to getting top grades in as little as 2 hours a day is just therefore to be more productive, right? But sometimes they're unsure about how to actually get there. So the next 2 variables will actually help us more in achieving more work in less time. This next one is leverage, which amplifies the productivity of our work. Leverage is by far one of the biggest separators between top students and everyone else. And you will just see why in a second, because it's like if 2 people needed to mow a lawn, well, one's using a lawnmower while the other is just using scissors. So both will get the task done eventually, but the one with the lawnmower will just finish exponentially faster. This is why just working harder just does not work. You can work as hard as possible with scissors as much as you want, but you're just never going to outcompete the person with the better tools. Leverage is the ability to get more done with the same or even less effort. And this is by far the biggest thing that top students do to study only 2 hours a day, because they are not using scissors to cut the grass, but instead they're using a whole lawnmower. So to effectively use leverage, top students spend a vast amount of their time upgrading their tools. And by that, what I mean is study skills, right? If you are spending 1 hour leveling up your study skills and learning how to learn, like drawing mind maps or using something like inquiry-based learning, you will increase the leverage of every minute that you study afterwards. For maybe your next assignment, your next piece of homework, or your next practice exam, every task that you do next, you may be able to save an extra 10 minutes in each one for the rest of your life. And so this saves us a lot more time. But if we say we want to level up our study to be even faster, like less than 2 hours a day, well, this is where the final crucial variable in the productivity equation comes in. But before that, I want to offer an advanced framework that will optimize all 3 variables that we've discussed so far: time, work, and leverage. And this is going to allow us to do the work at the right time with the right amount of leverage. And this is pace layering. So let's say that we were cooking some peas and that takes 10 minutes in a pan, whereas the chicken, that takes 45 minutes to cook in the oven. So we would start cooking the chicken first in the oven and then cook the peas in the pan after, rather than doing this the other way around. And this is really important because pace layering is essentially where we complete tasks in a specific order based on the time they take and their dependency on other tasks. This is where things get complicated because oftentimes there are so many variables to keep in mind before making a certain decision about prioritization. And when we're dealing with so many variables, the biggest one that we want to focus on the most is consequence. So ask yourself, what are the consequences if I don't get this task done right now? And you want to assess this with everything that you've got going on and even consider the opportunity costs. So if you were to do this, what would you miss out on? What do you not have the time for? And then you want to make the decision. So let's look at an example for studying. Let's say it's currently Thursday and I need to submit my practice essays for feedback before my actual exam on Tuesday. But my teacher only responds on weekdays and not weekends. I also have a formative maths assignment due on Monday that I have not started at all. So if we assess the consequences, in this example, we would say that maybe the practice essay for my actual exam is going to be much more important. The consequence of not being prepared for this exam is far greater because it actually impacts my final mark, whereas the assignment for my maths, it's not going to really contribute to my final mark at all. So my priority before the weekend would be to focus on completing the essay so I could submit it in time to receive feedback before the weekend. And that way I now have a more productive use of my time on the weekend to get through everything that I need to. This just means that my weekend doesn't go to waste. I can still work on that kind of practice essay, and then I can allocate the remaining time to my maths assignment after I've done my essay. Realistically speaking, there may be even more subjects to deal with, and there may never be a best way to do things, but there is always a better way by considering the order in which you complete tasks, which allows you to optimize your productivity and make the most effective use of your time. Now, to develop a foolproof productivity system, we are missing the final variable. And this is how I managed to rank in the top 0.05% of my entire country. And in general, top learners, they pay extreme attention to the distractions around them. And I want to be clear here, I'm not talking about things just like putting your phone on silent mode. Yes, that is important, but there is a much deeper level to distractions, and they are called productive distractions. Productive distractions are tasks that feel productive, but don't contribute meaningfully to your goals. They can trick you into thinking that you're being efficient when you're not. This could be, for example, rewriting notes, study groups, making over highlighted notes, going to class, or even doing homework, right? Which sounds crazy, but oftentimes this is not the most important task or highest leverage task that is going to improve your grades. It is just one of the things that you have to get done because your teacher checks it. And there are often a lot of tasks like this that are just urgent because there is a deadline, but it's actually not that important. The way that I've managed my way around this is by using the concept of dead time. For example, you are sleeping, and so that is actually dead time. You can't do anything else because you need to sleep. But there are lots of things where people think that it is dead time, but it's not. So for example, being on public transport on the way to school, right? There's a lot of time that could be used there. And even sometimes in class, there may be dead time. This means it's a great time to actually get a lot of these more urgent, but not truly important things done. And if you truly want to study 2 hours a day or even less, it is very, 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 very possible. But you just need to make sure that you finish or make a huge start on homework before class even finishes, which allows you to get home and focus on the most important tasks in your own time. Dead space is one of the best times to get a lot of those more productive distractions out of the way so that you can focus on the really important stuff. The book Essentialism actually explains this quite well, that says if you want to be productive, we don't actually want to add more tasks. Instead, we want to eliminate tasks or do them during other periods that we think are dead time. For example, if we think about top students, they don't do lots of different things just for the sake of it. They instead focus on a few things and invest all of their time into the stuff that is most high leverage, which is what we've been talking about before. That's how you eliminate the clutter and actually be able to truly study 2 hours a day and still get straight A's. So that's the 4 variables of the productivity equation. Productivity is just equal to work and leverage over time and distractions. Here's a summary on how to optimize each factor. Thanks for watching, take care. And if you want to learn possibly one of the highest leverage study skills, you may like this next one.